Hello, hello. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Ashley Charmaine, and my channel, you drifted upon, basically here to talk all things womanhood, woman in her 40s, mother of boys, wife, my journey to homeownership, some things that I will be just the process, good tips, information, understanding roles of homeownership along the path. So just good conversation, things where we're looking for other self-improvements. I am definitely on that path. I have been wanting and working on just me for a number of years. I am here to share all things. So basically this video is pretty much what I mentioned in my prior video, that we were going to start off with so some pros and cons. I feel like renting versus homeownership, as you will see in the thumbnail, it's not really a renters, versus a homeowners, right? It's more so of what works best for you in that stage in your life. What goals you may have set for yourself and your reasons, whether you're renting or you're a homeowner or a future homeowner. This is going to be based on what works for you. So it's not so much of a renter versus homeowner. That's just my thoughts. However, in there are pros and cons of being one or the other. Regardless of what you're doing, there's pros and there's cons. So today's video is basically going to talk about a little bit of those pros and cons. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list of pros and cons. It's just some of the ones that I am familiar with. Please let me know what other pros and cons that I may not have mentioned in the video. Let me know some of your thoughts, how you're feeling. How do you feel about renting? Are you someone who has a ambition or planned on being a future homeowner? So let's go ahead and dive into it. If you see me moving, you listen. If I don't use something to keep me on track, I will be like squirrel, and that's not good for me or you, okay? I'm just gonna make the video longer than what it needs to be. So basically, let's jump into our pros and our cons. Now, again, it's not a versus. It's more so what works best for you in whatever stage of life you're in. Whether you are a college graduate and you are embarking on your career and you're renting because you are not sure if this particular city, state is your, maybe you want to fill it out a little bit. Maybe you've gotten a job opportunity in a specific state, and you're not sure if you want that to be where you settle and make your roots. So you're renting. There's some helpful things that you will want to know and consider as being a renter. Or if you are unfortunately divorced or separated, and you need a fresh start and you're not financially ready to purchase a home and you just kind of want to get your bearings, figure out you. Renting may be a better option for you. Let's say you do have ambitions on being a homeowner. You want to make sure that you're making those decisions based on what you want, what you feel that is going to work for yourself. If you have a family, if you're planning a future family, that's another thing you can consider. Maybe you don't want to buy until you have that significant other. That makes sense. So why would it be a versus? It's just more so of what works for me right now, right? Okay, so let's talk about some of the pros for renting and homeownership. Now we're going to start off with the pros. All right, so renting pros. For the renting pros, you're not responsible for those major repairs. Plumbing, refrigerators. Why? Anyway, refrigerators, you're not responsible for just those major things that could happen. I'm in Florida, right? We've just had 2 hurricanes. If you're a renter, those repairs that you have that may have happened to those houses that you're renting, those apartments, condos, those don't have to come out of your pocket. That's a pro. That's something that I'm like, okay, because that's not, right now my bank account is not set up for that, That's a pro. Another pro is you roughly have an idea of your monthly expenses. Now, granted, life is going to do its thing. Life is going to life. But for the most part, you have an idea of what you're wanting to, or what your bills are. You don't, because those big repairs, not really something that you're going to have to worry about as a renter. Now, if you have a vehicle, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But typically, for the most part, you have more of what your finances are going to look like, right? Some of the initial pros, let's see. Short term. There's options where you can do short-term leases. You can do 6 months where their places are fully furnished. So you know that, okay, I may want to get a feel for this area. Let me just do a shorter lease so I can see if this, So the option to do those short-term rentals, that's for you. So you have flexibility there. For homeowners, there's not so much, right? And again, the flexibility of having those companies, or you're able to go to those corporations that rent out these homes and stuff like that you're able to have the flexibility. You could do your research, see if, okay, well, dang, I don't really know this area too well. I kind of want to get a feel for this area. Do they offer 6 months? Some offer a year. Heck, some can do month to month, but it's all in what works for you. Okay, then let's talk about some of the pros for homeownership. All right, for homeownership, your pros are going to look like you have more options. More options are available for you when it comes to what you can do to help when you have experienced things like rate increases or changes in your mortgage, because maybe your homeowner's insurance went up because you're in Florida and all the hurricanes that wanted to form this season wanted to kind of stop by and say, bid you hello, and then maybe not bid you hello. They wanted to say hello. So you have that option. Basically, and we'll talk about some of those things that will help you when it comes to being a homeowner that can help lower those rates. And a lot of them, of course, bundling your auto, stuff like that. However, we'll dive into more of those options that are available to you. And it will be, I can speak for Floridians. I can also say that as an insurance consultant, it's going to be different for everybody in different states, because insurance is going to be state specific. So it's not across the board, okay? So you definitely have to look at what discounts certain companies will offer you, because not all companies are all inclusive in their options for discount. So keep that in mind, okay? You can't be mad because State Farm offering something that Geico ain't offering. That's their prerogative. We'll get into that later. Trust. Okay. And then the other thing, number 2 for homeowners, you have the say-so, okay? Think about this, right? You have the say-so to do what you choose to do in your house. Whether you want to paint walls black, you can do that. You don't have to ask your landlord, can I paint? If you choose to paint a room, give it an accent wall, you can do that. You have the say-so. Now, granted, there are some things that you may not be able to grow and do on the property that is illegal. Come on, okay? We're not going that route. But for the most part, you have control over what happens in your home and on your property. That's another thing we'll talk about, is the fact of making sure, being mindful of what you choose to buy. For what you're choosing, how you choose to further, how you see yourself in the next few years. Don't be just buying because it's hot right now, okay? We'll get into that. All right, and then let's see, we have some more. Some of the pros for homeownership, your home can be an investment for you. It can truly be your investment. You handle it right, you take your time, you do your homework, you don't go in blind, you set yourself up to make the best choices for you. It can truly be an investment. So keep that in mind, okay? can bring like an added tax deductible. Think about the things that, like getting certain tax brackets when you maybe get these positions or these raises and things like that. You have to start thinking about those tax where you were before. Now you're in a different tax bracket. What are your deductions? It can bring you some tax deductions. Think about it, okay? Do your research for your state. Every state is different. What is beneficial for one state may not work in another state. You know, when they say it's the housing season or housing market is plummeted and you're a homeowner, how does that affect you as a homeowner? Understanding that and knowing that it can build you equity. You handle it right, you invest in it, but you don't over invest in it. It can really be something. I have a stepsister who has bought 3 homes in 15 years. And each one was a level up. Once sold, it was a nice little cushion in her bank account. So she's doing smart moves. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're trying to do. If that's your thing. If your thing is, I just need to, make it so that if I need it, it's there. Okay. All right. And then the last thing about one of the pros about home. Yes, this was a choppy video. So one lighting is going to be one way, and then the final season, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. The ending of this video is going to be this light because it's 5:30 and the sun is setting here in Great Florida or parts of the U.S. with this stupid daylight savings, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's jump back on in. Okay, so I left off at your mortgage is not going to be the same. Your mortgage is not going to be what you initially signed on your signing day. That's going to change, and it's going to change for a number of reasons, and we'll get into that, right? It changes. It's the house itself is going to cause your mortgage to change depending on if you have those things like your land taxes and your homeowner's insurance rolled into that, then that'll be a contributing factor to your mortgage changing. So pay attention to that. So that's something that you have to be mindful of. That particular where you get 1720 or 2400 or 15, whatever your rate is when you sign the papers about that. Then the other thing is just the fact of being a homeowner. You have to be mindful of not just the homeowner insurance or the homeowner's insurance that you're going to need for your property. Depending on where you are, you're going to need it would be smart to have other policies if you're in places like California, maybe Nevada, wherever they have earthquakes. You would want to invest in earthquake insurance. You're in the great state of like Florida, Jersey, New York, those areas, Louisiana, my spirit state, New Orleans, oh how I love thee. Anyway, but you're in places like that, you got to be mindful that you are going to more than likely keep in mind where it rains, it floods. So you don't have to be in a flood zone, but that'll be a smart policy to have, because keep in mind, outside water damaging your home is different than the water pipe busting in your home. Your home insurance, depending on what happens and what transpires, that's for your home insurance. But the outside water, that water from those man-made ponds, or if your home is kind of like you're in a bowl. I went to New Orleans, if you drove in, you can kind of tell that you kind of go into they're like in the bowl to where they seem lower. Those areas are prone for flooding. It doesn't necessarily mean that because you're not in those areas, your property won't flood. So flood insurance, earthquake insurance. You may want something called umbrella insurance because you have dependents and you are human and things happen. And if something were to happen to where you needed more than what your home insurance provided for liability, you have your umbrella policies with, those are things that so being a homeowner, having just the standard or the regular homeowner's policy, yeah, that's great, but you have to think beyond that. So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind, and that's a con because that is an added finance. Anything extra, those extra things, and to be quite frank, even when you're doing the things to help with your rates. So maybe you decide to put in a water leak detection, like one of those systems that help to monitor water leaks that are behind the walls in those areas where you don't visit often, you can't see through the walls because you don't have those type of superpowers. That's an investment. So you have to be mindful of doing that you have to be mindful of that when you're considering becoming a homeowner. Because granted, you want to think about things that are going to save you money, but you also got to make sure that you can pay for those things. And that's where you have to be mindful of, like, okay, to be quite frank, you have to be as prepared as you can be. You know what I'm saying? You have to find it costs money to be a homeowner. Period. There's no easy way to put it. You have to be mindful that you have to have funds set aside for the unknowns. Or you have to have funds set aside for the fact that you know your umbrella policy is going to be due in 2 months. But then you have your flood policy, it'll just due 4 months from then. So that's why you can't be just flying by the seat of your pants when you're doing things like this, because flying by the seat of your pants can you can wind up in a situation that you can't get yourself out of, right? So just be mindful of that. You want to be mindful of those things where you are embarking on being a homeowner, okay? So that's some of the pros and cons for renting and homeownership. No, I'm not saying versus anymore. It's renting or homeownership, whatever works for you at that stage of your life. Be mindful of what you're getting into. People, read your contracts. Understand what you're doing. You read something, you don't know what that means, you need to Google it. You need to ask questions, because it's not a game out here, okay? It's not a game. And then just some ending thoughts, basically. I do want to make it known that I will be bringing, I'm kind of thinking maybe a series in regards to just homeownership. I do want to share my path and what we're doing and our thoughts, and some helpful tips and information that I come across. Please do the same. Again, this is a channel where we're forming a community. We're trying to do things smarter, not harder. And we're about sharing. There's no gatekeeping here. So I have something that I feel that'll be beneficial for us all, and vice versa. Please share. It would be great. I would appreciate it. And that's another form of having a community. So yeah, we plan to buy. I do want to purchase a home without an HOA. I will be looking for different things that I can do to help with my land taxes, to help with give me some of those discounts on my policy. So whether it's water leak protection, security, depending on what type of windows I have, because I am in Florida, you pretty much making your home hurricane resistance is a plus. Granted, that resistant path can be costly, so investigating that. So I will be looking into that for me and my husband, for us as becoming future homeowners. This is something that we're planning to do. We wanted to get to that point within the next year and a half. I'm not saying 6 months from now, because I know that is absolutely impossible, because there are certain things that we have to do. And then so I'm thinking about doing a series. Comment below if you're interested, if you have thoughts. What are your thoughts? Are you interested in just kind of seeing a path? And I'll be the one to tell you, I'm 41. Okay, I've rented, since I've been on my own, I have rented every location we've been at. I've never owned. At one point, I never thought I wanted to own. I was scared of owning. I didn't feel that I was capable, or I don't feel like I could truly take on that responsibility. I was terrified of that responsibility, being terrified of something happening and I can't fix it or can't take care of it. However, from learning and being in insurance and being a consultant and understanding, things that causes your premiums to go up, whether it's your old roof or it's old plumbing, or, you're in a house that's badly insulated and your light bill is extremely high, so that makes things like that. I'm learning certain things. I've picked up on information, I've researched, I've watched YouTube, I've had friends, all the things, right? So I feel like now we're in a place to where we feel like this is going to be an investment for us. And we're doing all the things to make sure that it's what is going to feed us, what is going to make us wake up and we'll be like, okay. And definitely we've had enough sleepless nights. We've had enough worrying about finances. So we're trying to make sure that our next move is our best move. And that's where we're going with it. So like, comment, subscribe, leave your comments, please. Until the next video. Now the next video, we're gonna switch it up a little bit, because keep in mind, this is a we're gonna talk about a plethora. Y'all seen Sis Stack too, you know what I'm talking about, but we're gonna be talking about a plethora of topics, you know, skincare, all the things. So my next video is going to just be a quick video talking about what I'm doing to try to get that glass skin, because I have made my skin we've been fighting for years. We've been fighting for years, and I feel like I'm 41. I should not be having acne. What are we doing here, right? So I'm just gonna kind of show you some of the things that I'm using and how I get those products. Okay. So stay tuned for the next video. Until then, I am your girl, Ashley Charmaine. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.